Hello, everyone. This is Ramirez with Tidewater and Sons Fighting Arts. So let's have some fun. Let's talk about armor. In this series, I've been talking about soft kit, the stuff you wear underneath your armor. I have a video about coifs, the headgear to wear with armor, and I will try to link that at the end of this video, so you do get to watch that as well. But let's talk about helmets. This is my helmet. Really kind of cool, huh? If you're doing Harnischfechten, understand something about armor. Picking out your helmet is a big deal. And I say that because your helmet is going to be one of your larger, more expensive items that you pick. And your helmet, depending on period, location, etc., will kind of shape the rest of your armor decisions. So if you take some time about figuring out what kind of helmet you want, what historical period it's from, what style armor it goes with, because as I said, if you want to build a historical kit for Harnischfechten, you probably are going to be shaping everything else on, does this go with my helmet? Don't buy all the other armor and then go, well, I can't afford or I don't like the helmet that goes with it. It's almost easier to be like, okay, what's the cool helmet? Do I like the armor that goes with it? And then go that way. But in this case, this is a 14th and 15th, late 14th, early 15th century Bascinet. It is in the Klappvisor style, which means that little top part is a hinge on which this faceplate can be lifted. It's currently strapped down, and it can also be replaced, and I'm going to get into that in a second. This particular bassinet is made by Armstreet. Just a heads up, the torse, this little guy here, this is not made by Armstreet. This is another artist. I may talk about that. If you are curious about it, leave a link in the comments saying you want to know about the torse, and I will do a video about the torse. I will actually take the torse off for a moment so I can show you some of the other features of this helmet. But yeah, this is the torse. It's kind of a medieval hat for your helmet, which on the surface doesn't make sense, but you have to understand that armor is the bling of the medieval knight. So they really dress it up. And the more you dress up your helmet, the more fancy and important and, chicks dig well-dressed helmets, that kind of thing. So you'll notice on mine, I do have some brass edging on the ends of my visor. This one is in stainless steel. This is part of their Wayward Knight collection. It's originally supposed to have a blackened finish. I asked for it to be in stainless steel and for the Aventail to be in blackened chainmail because actually my hauberk is blackened chainmail. So it actually matches quite nicely. In this case, I hope you can see it. One of the reasons that kind of got me wanting this helmet is it came pre-padded. So the padding is already sewn into my helmet, and that was just going to make life easy. And for some of you who probably don't do a lot of crafting or live in an apartment, don't have a fancy garage and a lot of fancy tools, having a helmet that already has padding in it is probably a good thing. Now this helmet is 12 gauge stainless steel. That was at my request rather than the blackened finish they normally have for this helmet. I'm going to put it down for a moment. Talk a little bit more about helmets in general, and that mine is 12 gauge stainless. The reason that it's probably heavier than what some people might recommend is when you have a heavier helmet, it's a little more weight on your head, on your neck, and that can be an issue. Some people get away with a 14 gauge, some people go for something as light as 16. Not really what I recommend, especially if you're fighting with some of the different poleaxes out there. But People do it. But the lighter your helmet is, think of this equation. Force is mass times acceleration. More mass you have, if you have the same amount of force, if you have more mass, you have less acceleration. Less mass, more acceleration. And this big giant noodle that's in here, I don't want accelerating at really fast speeds. So I'd much rather have more mass, so when it gets hit, it doesn't accelerate as much. So that's the argument I have for a heavier helmet. Obviously, it doesn't dent as easily, but that overall, the force that you're hit with tends to be a little bit less impactful. And that's why I've always leaned towards a heavier helmet versus a lighter helmet. That particular Clapham visor, as I said, you can take the visor off. So if I want to do a historical reenactment, I want to talk to people, I could just take that off. I just have to turn the little piece on the top and that piece pops off. I can also replace it. And when I bought this mask, I actually bought it with a different visor. So this visor is basically like a fencing mask on steroids. It's really actually quite thick, but it just has a lot of holes in it. So this is called perforated plate. I can actually see a lot better out of this. So while you may not be able to see my face, I can actually see the camera quite easily. In Harnischfechten, we count this would be the equivalent of not having a visor. You still get all the protection, but we don't tend to count it as actual protection because it's assumed you have an open face. And the plus side of this is kind of multifold. It's a lot easier to see out of here. That's the obvious one. It's actually also a lot easier to breathe. And one of the differences going from, let's say, a fencing mask to a helmet, aside from the big weight difference, is because you have solid plate here with a couple of holes, you're not going to get the same degree of airflow. And that can lead to things like what people call helmet horror, which is when your brain starts going, hey, I'm not getting the same amount of oxygen. You kind of freak out. I've been fighting in different helmets for the better part of 30 years. I'd been in the SCA, so I wasn't a stranger to wearing helmets. Now, a lot of times SCA helmets have bar grills, very open face, but my first fighting helmet was a Japanese Mempo, so it was fairly closed. There was a mouth slit, and there were eye slits, and there was a nose slit, but I was used to being encased in a helmet, so I never really had that issue. But certainly I can tell the degree of breaths that I get out of my regular helm, my regular visor, which looks fantastic, is nowhere near what I get when I wear this perf plate visor. So a lot of times if I'm just practicing, I'll put this on. It gives some of the other members of the club another target because this is an open face area. But usually if I'm doing something where it's either a demonstration or just, I want to be blinged out for an actual deed of arms, I'll go with my main visor because, that's what it's there for. The additional visor did cost me, I think, around 165 or 180 over the regular price. The helmet itself, I think, it goes on sale and it goes off sale. So I think it was about 600. So I think that with this, it ended up being closer after taxes to about 800, and then I think it was $80 to ship. So I think the whole thing cost me $880 shipped. But for something that was very custom, so they made this custom to fit my helmet. They said they could do it afterwards, but they couldn't guarantee the fit. So I made it a point to order it all at once, so they made sure that it fit properly. Once again, Armstreet did a wonderful job with. Normally, this is blackened. If you go to the website, I'll put the link below. You'll see it, and it'll be all in a blackened style. I wanted the stainless steel option, and they were happy to make it that way. It normally comes, I believe, in 14 gauge. I asked for 12. They did that. There was no extra charge for any of those upgrades. And the male Aventail, which they could have done in a lighter steel, but they said it wouldn't be riveted. So they said the blackened would be riveted. So I opted for that because I did want riveted male, and also it matched my Habergeon, my chainmail, which is also blackened. So that was just a nice thing. So it transitions from the stainless steel to that blackened armor, which also works with my arms, which are also black and gold, just like the t-shirt. Well, not like the t-shirt. You'll see it when we get around to the rest of my kit. And then, as I said, I have this torse. You will see on the website that they have a torse. It's not this one. As a matter of fact, Armstreet specifically said the torse that they showed on theirs, they don't sell. So I did find a private artist who did, I commissioned this torse for, and they went ahead and made that for me. As I said, if you're curious about it, leave a comment, leave a question. I'll be happy to talk about that. And once again, my name is Ramirez. I'm with Tidewater Renaissance Fighting Arts. We're based out of Norfolk, Virginia. If you're curious about our club, if you're curious about Harnischfechten in general, please leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next video.